Good morning. It was nice to wake up today and see the sun shining, wasn't it, on your way into work? But for those of us who've had a little bit of frustration with the rain we've had recently and the longer, shorter days actually, of the wintertime season, perhaps depression can kick in. That seasonal depression is a very real thing. And for anyone watching who is a veteran or knows a veteran, there might be even an added component now this time of year. Charles Miller is on the show to kick things off with us this morning. He, of course, has Scenic City Neurotherapy, and you had said really you wanted to talk today about some work you're doing in partnership, right, with the VA to allow veterans easier access to something called transcranial magnetic
stimulation.
Almost had it. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What is it?
So transcranial magnetic stimulation is a way of stimulating the area of the brain that helps you process information correctly. It helps you process emotions correctly. You'll see people with chronic depression or chronic anxiety. It's not that the world around them is the problem as much as the way they're perceiving it or the emotions that are being elicited by the world around them. They're feeling bad when good things are happening, and they know logically that they should feel better than they are feeling. And specifically our veterans with PTSD components and you know, the things that they've been through, it seems like they struggle on a whole nother level.
Okay, so is the issue when it comes to this particular area we're focusing on today, depression, and we're using veterans because of the VA connection you've got. I guess it would be true though for anybody,
right.
The cause. Is it a physical thing or is it an experiential thing? Is the depression triggered because something happened that created a change in the brain? Or is it an experience and their brain's kind of frozen?
I think the best way to look at that, I wish I had a better answer than both.
Okay, that's
the
fair.
experience creates hyperactive neuronal activity. The hyperactive neuronal activity actually causes physical breakdown of neuronal synapses, and so it is very physical in nature. And our treatments, specifically the neurotherapies we provide, are designed to wake those areas back up. Not that they feel good, but they feel correctly. You know,
okay, so if you're a veteran and you're in combat, you're like this all the time. And that requirement of being on alert all the time can physically change your brain.
It can. It can actually produce a mappable, measurable, area of the brain that ceases to communicate. It's like if your brain was your computer and your processor used to be able to run 10 programs, and then the processor's damaged, and now it can only run 8. All 10 programs are still having to run, but the brain is now only capable of running these 8 efficiently, and so a deficit starts to form. Things that now the brain's working very hard with even very simple tasks.
Always when I talk to you, I have 1,000 questions, so I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with you just yet. So with the veteran stuff, you wanted to let people know that with this partnership, they can access these treatments, the transcranial, at little to no cost.
Yes, we are members of the VA Community Care Network, and we are excited that we've had several veterans already come through our program, and at no cost to them out of pocket, they're able to utilize our treatments and get the benefits without any exceptional expense.
I may have misled though, because I think what you told me before we got on air is that this is primarily beneficial in a depression situation, not as much the PTSD.
But I think usually there's a combination of diagnoses. People with PTSD will oftentimes have, in conjunction, major depressive disorder, complex, and we see even some pain components, like we see elevated levels of generalized pain, fibromyalgia, complex regional pain syndrome. Okay,
this might take longer to answer than we have time. So you've got, let's go with the military again, 10 soldiers in a unit together, and they all experience the same thing, but they're 10 individual people.
Right.
2 may end up having some long-time repercussions from the experience. The other 8 may not. Is that true?
That's correct. It's everybody has different thresholds, different stress responses, and so it is very individualized who shows up with say, a diagnosis of PTSD or major depressive disorder or generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay, so if you're not military and it's just that life has caught you, and maybe you're somebody who's had a traumatic situation within your family, not even to you personally, but within your family, and other people can somehow seem to, quote, let it go, but this person can't.
Right.
Can that happen?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The wear and tear from the stressors of daily life can mirror, wartime PTSD. If you look at some of the things that people go through, and even perception of different stressors, it's very much how it affects the individual.
Okay, so if you are the person for whom this is a more difficult thing to deal with, so to speak, if you can have that recognized and can get in early to begin to help you, then you don't have layer upon layer upon layer of new difficulty. Is that right?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's a great way to put it. Being proactive and understanding that what we're providing is not symptom management. We're dealing with the underlying components, the neuronal connections in the brain that are causing people to feel things inappropriately. When we enhance the way the brain communicates, it just helps you better feel what's happening around you in a more effective way.
Last time you and I talked, I don't know if we said this on the air, so I hope I'm not saying something I shouldn't, but that the current understanding, widespread, of the brain is based on research that's 70 or 80 years old. It's a symptomatic treatment as opposed to a root cause treatment, and this is different.
Typically what we see with antidepressant therapies is that we hyperstimulate the neuron to enhance communication by increasing neurotransmitters. The chemical imbalance theories are not necessarily as, I guess, the whole picture. Chemicals play a strong part in the way our brain communicates, but they are by no means the whole process. We have to look at the neuronal pathways themselves, and that's where the neurotherapies come into play. Is that what we have learned is that neurotherapy is more neuronal pathway repair as opposed to it is to increasing neurotransmitters themselves.
So for some people, you never know who's listening to you, and for some people this could be the 15th time they've heard us have this conversation. For some people it could be the first. Is that's the whole understanding now, is that the brain is a movable, malleable part of our body. It can be rewired, as you're saying.
And wonderfully so. It's why we grow over the lifespan. If it was this unchanging thing, when we wouldn't be able to learn and grow. If you think back to when we were 20 versus now, we're different people. That's
true. That's a really good way to look at it. Okay, so usually when you're here, we talk about the ketamine infusions. That's still on the table for anybody who's interested. But this transcranial magnetic stimulation, is that something that anybody right now who's thinking this might be beneficial for me can call and ask you about?
Absolutely. All of our consultations, they last about an hour. They're no charge. The best thing to do if you think this is something you might be interested or this might be something that can help is to schedule a consultation, come in and sit down with me, and we go through your situation and see if this is even a good option. And if it is a good option, we'll educate you on what this looks like and how to move forward. You
said educate twice. You love it. You love to educate people.
It is a passion of mine. We work with UTC's graduate anesthesia program. We're one of their clinical locations. We're teaching young anesthesia providers how this works. It's kind of a different area than typically what we see with anesthesia. And so, education is where patients do well. A well-educated patient always does better. And that's not just with what we do, it's in all of medicine.
Across the board. Thank you. You can contact him at Scenic City Neurotherapy on Shallowford Road. Their phone number is 228-0579, sceniccityneurotherapy.com. Thanks again, Charles.
Thank you.
No